Welcome to Film and Page. I'm Dominic. I recently watched the new direct-to-disc animated feature film Babylon 5: The Road Home. This was a movie that myself and a lot of longtime B5 fans have been anticipating for a while now. I pre-ordered my copy on Amazon as soon as it was possible. If you're unfamiliar with Babylon 5, it was a science fiction television series that ran from 1993 to 1998. It revolved around the space station Babylon 5 that was built as a neutral ground so the different aliens of the galaxy could meet in peace and talk to each other on diplomatic terms as a way of avoiding misunderstandings that could lead to war. The series was created by J. Michael Straczynski, who also wrote a large portion of the series episodes himself. It was conceived as a novel made for television and would have one overall arcing storyline from the beginning to the end of the series. Something very commonplace these days, but more rare back then, especially for a weekly sci-fi show. Along with the series, there were several made-for-TV movies, along with 3 spin-offs. First being Crusade, which only lasted 1 season, and the second being Babylon 5: The Legend of the Rangers, which only got so far as the pilot, but never went anywhere from there. The final being Babylon 5: The Lost Tales, which was meant to be an anthology series, but also only a pilot was produced. Since that time, there was very little, if any, movement for anything new related to Babylon 5. There were lots of talk over the years for a feature film, a reunion movie, and most recent was a reboot of the series, which has been tied up in development hell for the last few years now, and made even worse by the current writer's strike. So I've heard lots of news over the years for lots of different Babylon 5 projects, with nothing becoming of it. So when I first heard that J. Michael Straczynski had a new project in mind that involved the return of the remaining cast, I was skeptical to say the least. However, it has finally happened, and we got a new Babylon 5 movie, and one that is a full-length animated film. Now, I've watched Babylon 5: The Road Home twice, and I'll talk a bit about it without spoiling anything major. There might be some minor spoilers, but I'll keep it as spoiler-free as I can. The story takes place somewhere in the time frame of the show's final season, where John Sheridan is no longer captain of Babylon 5, but president of the newly formed Interstellar Alliance. It opens up with President Sheridan and his wife Delenn preparing to leave Babylon 5 for what may be the last time to live on Minbar, with one of his first acts as president is to oversee the activation of a new power generator for the city of Tuzanor. As they journey to Minbar on a White Star, Sheridan starts to experience slight time echoes, where events seem to repeat themselves. They arrive on Minbar for the ceremony. However, when the generator is activated for the first time, the time echoes that Sheridan is experiencing gets worse. Something goes wrong with the generator as it seems to be overloading. It also seems to be connected to Sheridan, as he seems to be phasing out of time. Sheridan discovers that the new power generator is powered by tachyon particles. He tells the Minbari to shut it down, but they can't, explaining that the machine must cycle to full activation mode before it can be shut down again. The power generator seemingly overloads, causing an explosion of energy engulfing Sheridan, causing him to vanish. Sheridan finds himself lost in time and space. Now he must find a way to get home. When I first heard about a project that involved the remaining cast of Babylon 5, I could only speculate at what it might have been, as the project was kept under tight wraps. I kept thinking it would be some kind of live-action reunion, which I didn't see how something like that would work, but I was surprised when it was finally announced that it would be an animated feature. It is a tragic and sad thing, but most of the cast of Babylon 5 has passed away, so a proper live-action reunion film would be very hard to do. However, with animation, you have a lot more flexibility. For example, you can have the story take place in more time periods, without having to de-age any of the remaining actors. They just have to voice their younger or older animated character. Also, for characters that were played by actors who have passed on, you only need to find voice actors who sound like them. I'll talk a bit about that later. Also, it being animated would allow them to do things that would have been difficult or impossible during the series' original run in the 90s, The things done in this film is possible with today's special effects, but I would have to guess that it would be much more expensive. Now, as for the animation itself for this movie, it is a grand slam. The film is beautifully done, and it looks amazing. If you're familiar with the DC animated films done by Warner Animation Studios, well, you know what to expect. It is up to that standard. And the universe of B5 translates very well. It makes you realize just how colorful that universe really is. As for the story itself, you won't be disappointed if you're a longtime B5 fan. This is written for you in mind. It is like a love letter to the fans of the show. And no, it isn't written with current year in mind. All the characters are written well and respectfully. No subverting expectations or bullshit like that. The story is a story about love, friendship, family, and commitment. It is a timeless story that could have easily been written back in the 90s or today. It's not going to date itself, and it is a story that I found better watching it a second time. So I have a feeling it is going to really grow on me over the years, and will be something I'll revisit over and over. Not only that, the story is independent of the series, and what I mean by that, it is its own self-contained adventure. Also, the story is set up in a way that you don't have to have seen the series and be familiar with it to enjoy it. My second watch was with a friend of mine who doesn't know the show, but was still able to enjoy this movie and understand what was going on. Even though it is a movie about love, there is no shortage of action in the film. Not only that, the pacing of the film is very good. I never found it dragged at any point. The film is 79 minutes in length, which I think will actually work in its favor when it comes to the movie's rewatchability. The other thing I really enjoyed is that all the characters are on point in this movie. They act and say things that those characters would. Nothing feels off. Case in point, and mild spoiler warning, the joke Delenn makes at Sheridan at the beginning of the movie about his socks. That is exactly what she would say. That is exactly how the two would interact. For comparison, when I watch Strange New Worlds, the character of Spock feels so off to me. He says and does so many things that Spock wouldn't do, which could be a whole video in of itself. That isn't the case with this movie at all, even though Myra Furlan has passed away and Rebecca Reedy does the voice of Delenn. The character acts and reacts and says things you know Delenn would say. That is the same with all the characters in this film. Which leads me to my next point, is the voice acting in this movie is spot on, and they did a really good job of finding voice actors who sound like the original actors for cases where that actor has passed away. The only exception I found was the character of Jakar, who was originally played by Andreas Katsulas, which is understandable, since he had such a distinct sounding voice. Still, Andrew Morgado does an excellent job. I love this movie, and I think most B5 fans will. This movie is for B5 fans what Picard Season 3 was for Star Trek TNG fans. And if this is the last thing we get for the original incarnation of B5 before a reboot, I'm totally satisfied with that. It was written for the fans by its creator, Michael J. Straczynski, who know and love these characters. And it shows. That may be just my opinion, but that's how this movie made me feel. And that's everything I have to say in this video. Let me know what you think in the comments section, and I will see you at the next one. I'd like to say thank you to all of my subscribers. I appreciate you all in helping this channel grow. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Also, don't forget to hit the bell icon so you'll be notified when new videos are uploaded.